Hello interweb, I'm just going to be making some patterns today. If you skip over the pattern tool in Illustrator, because it is, when you first think about it, it's kind of boring, but if you don't use it, if you're like me and don't use it, then there's a lot of stuff there that's, it's a pretty powerful tool. There's a lot of stuff there to kind of play with. And first off, I started with a square. I bisected it, or dissected it, or whatever, using the line tool and Pathfinder. But I like to start out with not just squares, so I'll start out with a square. It's made out of triangles. So I'm just going to take this. There's not much to it. And it's got an inside stroke on it, just in case you're wondering. These are individual triangles. So I'll take this, I'm going to go to Pattern Options, and drag that away so it stays up. And go to Make a Pattern. It's going to save one. My swatches right away. And so with making a pattern, now I can start to add things on the inside. So it's never too early to click Make a Pattern. Once you're in that mode, you can start to add things and most of the tools still work in this mode, which is the cool part. And you can hit save a copy just to, every time you figure out something cool. And that's not something what I thought the pattern tool was. I thought it was a one-shot deal. I thought you couldn't edit things when you're inside of it. But you can edit things when you're inside of it. And not only that, just by making some simple uniform adjustments, you can create all kinds of different patterns. And when I say uniform, I mean if you want your pattern to look cool generally, uniform is the way to go. So there's that. I can also and this isn't perfectly uniform, but uniform enough just to give you an idea what that'll look like. So I guess I'll put the opposite color over the sphere that it's over, just to add some interest and to keep everything oops, that's not the opposite. So we got yellow, blue, and I know blue and yellow aren't opposites or complements, but I like to treat them like that sometimes. Kind of change things up. It took me long enough. And I'm hitting dim copies to see what this looks like. I want to do overlay like I did with the circles. And I want to make sure that they're in front. It's like I'm doing all this pasting in place and everything. I'll save a copy. Never hurts. I'm doing all this pasting in place. You can even use the transform tool. And I suggest using the transform tool. You'll get some really crazy effects. But just by rotating, you create all these different patterns. So long as it's something that can be done to all done in symmetry, done to these four shapes at the same time. And you don't have to stick to symmetry. I prefer to. You know, it's obviously you can do two kinds of symmetry. You can do just crossways like that. It all depends on what you want, obviously. But getting into things like warping these things. You can even do that inside. So it's a really powerful tool when you combine it with all this different stuff. Save a copy. Well, okay, this is an adjustment, so I can just get right into my adjustments. Okay. So if you do use something like warp, you know, expand it. Expand your appearances panel if you're using it from the appearances. I think if you use it from object, it's fine. So I was in wave. I'll pick a twist. A lot of cool patterns can come out of accidents, and since it's a pattern, you can do it again and again and again. Now, particularly if you're not using solid objects, and this is just the expanded stroke. That's another new pattern. And like I said, you should just expand it to get rid of that dialogue, but these are just the expanded triangles that I have here. I think I just undid making a pattern. Yep. Oh well. So I believe I had these right about there. Okay. And now I'll get into transform. Transform is a really crazy command when you combine everything it has. I think I might crash Illustrator. There you go. It's pretty nutty. I love it. I use it for a lot of different things. See, I've kind of made I'm just nudging this with the keyboard. I've kind of made like I forget, a trellis, I think. And I'll do a little bit vertical. Probably the same. Should give me a good result. And then I mean, that kind of creates a cool pattern right there. It's creating another square in between and a lot of openness. So here's the thing, I have all these appearance effects on, so just changing one little thing is going to have a really dramatic impact. I'll change this to the color that's behind it and put it on exclusion. And the end result of this pattern is going to be pretty crazy looking. I already know that. But that's, you know, this is something I'm just getting into now. Just doing these patterns. I had to make some tutorial videos, and it's how I kind of realized there are a lot more than I originally thought. And I can, like, another thing too is use your lasso. Like, I captured all these points on the inside here, and really I'm going to hit Control A because I'm only doing a pattern in this. It's not selecting anything else. And I'm going to expand the appearance, so I'm taking the appearance and making it in just normal stuff again. Um, but just by hitting this, for example, and E to transform, I know I'm going to get something cool. This edge is a little unpopulated, so just doing something that'll bring it out. And yeah, there's another quality. Obviously, that's pretty cool. So this is mostly just blending modes and small transformations, and then there's a transform, an appearance transform with multiple copies thrown in. The other part of this, and this is a good chance to show you, is just by changing the width and height difference, and I have this locked in, so I only have to change one. I can just hold in shift and the up arrow and just see what different things come up. I'm kind of scared to see what will come up if I go down to like 90 or so. Right, that's nutty. And yeah, it's going to have this extra margin, but you know, it'll repeat as many times as you want with this. And you just throw away the extra, however you want to do that, with clipping mask or Pathfinder, you're cutting into it, or just highlighting the anchor points and deleting them if you're good at that. It just keeps on coming up with new ones. And then there's another thing here. I don't know if that one was really worth it, but transform each. Since I have 4 things selected, just hitting these different options, I'll get a lot of cool stuff. It's kind of a chaotic one, but it's so pretty powerful tool here. If you've been skipping over it like I have, you should probably get into it and make a lot of cool patterns. Like at this point, it's so crazy that I'm not really sure what to do with it, but I ended up having a lot of cool stuff come out of this. I'll save one more copy and then it'll be done. Or just be done. It's still saved in here. Anyway, definitely really a cool thing to use. Thanks for watching. I'm going to have a lot more videos on here as I'm discovering things when I'm using the program. I use it all day, so yeah, thanks for watching, and subscribe and do all that stuff that everybody does. I'm sure you'll find a lot of cool stuff.